Okay, so now we're going to move on to step 4, which is the front arms. And just because I don't want to get them confused, I've actually only started with taking out C8 and C3 so that I know that they are the right part. So you can see that they're even saying note direction. So obviously on this piece, I don't know if you can sort of see, there's a notch, which means that you know, see on this part here, there isn't a notch. So if I turn this around, you can see that there is a notch right there. So now you know that that piece and that piece are supposed to go together. Okay, so now we're going to use one of the little tapping screws, and I'm going to screw it in there, which we might as well go ahead and do. And I can feel that it's pretty much already done, but I'll just do a little, there we go. So that piece is done. So I'll grab the other two, do the exact same thing, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so there is the other one. You can see that it's slightly different. So it was good that I actually did this separately just to make sure that it's correct. So what we've got is we have our differential. We have our front arms. Now we are going to attach the gears, and you can see that we're going to put the chassis parts together and add this one and attach to that arm we were looking at earlier. Those are the screws, the shafts, and that's where the plastic bearings would be, but they are getting replaced with the bearing kit. And then those are the other two gears that are needed. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull together a few things, and we'll grease up some of those gears. I'll grab the other chassis parts and we'll start building step 5. So I think for this step, what we're going to do is let's first attach the two sides of the chassis together. Now you're going to notice here, which is different, I've not seen this before, where they want you to grease the two parts that come together. So you can see with this, and I'll just remove that top piece because it's loose at the start, is that they're showing you that the grease needs to be along this part right here. So we know that this is going to slide right across. So I'm just going to put a bit of grease on there. And then you take the other half and you kind of slide it in just like that. And that's pretty much it. So those two parts have been slid together, and you can sort of see how that comes together on that side. And of course on this new design, which I shouldn't have done, this actually needed to be on. So if I snap that back into place, you can see that that part is now going to screw into this part of the chassis with this piece actually on. That's going to screw into that. So that part's done. We'll just need to screw this in. So let's grab, you can see here we need a BA7, which is this screw up here, and it's going to go up through the bottom. And so we're going to screw that in, because that's going to end up being a good fit on that side. And I'll tighten it up a bit afterwards, but that part is in. And then you can see that there's another screw, this BA7, which is going to go up where we attached it to here. It's right here. So we'll take that other BA7 and put it right there. Just gonna get the other part there to make it eat better. And I think we need the other screwdriver. Yeah, that's better. Let's do it on the other side. Oh yeah. Okay, so the two halves of the chassis are now in. So we're a step ahead again. So what we will do is let's get the bearings. You can see with this one, we need to put the bearing, one of the little bearings, into here, which it is. You can see it's countersunk inside there. And then we take one of the bigger bearings and put that on the other side. So there we go, that's in. So those are in, and it's a fairly loose fit, but that's fine, that's in. And you can actually see, you know, they're saying stick the box wrench in, I guess, to push it down, which there you go. I mean, now it's all the way in just by using the box wrench. But that part is done, so fine. Then if we grab this gear, we'll do the same thing. We stick the little one in there and we stick the bigger one in there. So there we go. We've got that ready to go. And then it's going to be a matter of this piece here, which is F6. They want you to put a bearing inside there. There we go. So that is in, and you can see that that's going to end up fitting in the back side of the chassis. But for now, we now have all the gears ready, the bearing, any of the pieces that needed the bearings, that's all done. And now we've got to put in the two shafts, which is what we have left, the two shafts and this screw, and also be able to grease all of this up. So let's go ahead and do all that now. Okay, so let's look at this screw right here. I didn't realize that I missed it, so I mean, I've put it in. So now we've got all the screws in, that's tight, so that's fine. It was an easy one, we'll move on. Now this, right here, let's grab that black one piece here, and you can see, based on the way they're showing this, that you mostly are seeing the bearing on this side, whereas this side you're only seeing where the drive shaft is going to end up going through. So for this, we're definitely going to put it in that way, and you can pretty much see and feel it's just going to push in. There we go. So that is in as it's supposed to be. So now let's take a look at, well, you can see that it's going to be this piece right here, and it is the shorter shaft. Now again, it's showing you the putting the grease on it, but we're using ball bearings, so I don't tend to do that with ball bearings. I'll leave it the way it is. But what I will do is grease up the gears, which we definitely want to be doing. So let's do that. Grease them up. And we'll do the same, drag it back over to here. I just like to get a, I like to be fairly liberal with it. Okay, so then you can see that we're going to put that through to the bottom. So you can see this one is going to go down here. Oops. And that moved. But that's okay. There. So it's just sitting in there right now. Then let's grab the other one, which again, same idea. We're gonna stick the longer shaft through, and then I'm gonna do the same thing and just grease this puppy up. Be fairly liberal with it all. And I think that's going to be pretty good. And then you can see that that one is now going into that part there. So we're going to end up dropping it down there. You can see where that is. So it's where it's supposed to be. And you can see that the two gears moving a bit. Now, they're not, they obviously have to be fixed up into the other one, but you can see that the gear itself is moving nice and smooth with the other. And it'll be better once this is all attached. But I mean, that is the finished part to step 5. So we can move on now to the next step. So here we are, step 6, the chassis. So we already built this side with the gears, everything is ready to go. Now we have to install the differential and put the little black piece in similar to the other side here, and then put this side of the chassis together and then screw it in place as well. You can see the little screws everywhere, and of course you can see we're going to grease the other side so that when we slide this side of the chassis over that piece, it'll be a little easier. So as you can see, here are the screws, the F6 black piece that we need, as well as the bearing that's getting replaced, or that I'm replacing the plastic bearing with the metal bearing. So what we'll do is we'll now push this all together and add the differential. Now, just as a point of interest, I took the screws out of this again, just to take a quick peek inside to see if there was something, binding. I didn't find anything binding. I put the plastic piece on, screwed it down, and screwed it tight, and now it's full clear motion. Like, it's very easy. So I'm not sure what happened the first time around. So again, I strongly suggest that after you build the differential, you put in the drive shaft cups and spin it. And if it's not fully free, like I mean free, there's something that's been built wrong and you should take it apart. Because the last thing you want to do is put the whole car together and then find out you haven't done this right. So just a point of interest, make sure this thing works. Now for me, this is totally smooth, so I'm happy. So let's go ahead and start putting the two halves of the chassis together. Okay, so right off the bat, let's put this bearing into the black piece here. Let's grab the other side of the chassis, and again, bearing side in, and we'll just pop that in. There we go. So now that bearing is in place. You can see that the way this is done is that they want the screw side of the differential facing out. So we're going to put this together, and I mean, we're gonna have to grease it up, but we want those screw sides facing this way as we put it together. So we'll do that. Okay, so we had to put the chassis together, and the chassis is now complete. So I've screwed in all of the screws that were necessary to tighten this up. And so we are actually finished now with the chassis. So there is the there's your sort of finished M-05 chassis. So now we can start working on all the stuff that has to go on to this. So we're going to move on to step 7, which is attaching the front arms.